Today, Fresh Baked, I'm going to be giving you guys one tip that's going to change the way you experience Disneyland. A tip that'll change you from, a casual guest who is at the mercy of Disneyland crowds into a guest that is confident and free of anxiety and free of stress. We can talk about Lightning Lane and Premier Pass. We can talk about rope drop or closing the park. What days to come, what days not to come. We can talk about all that, but what about once you're in the park? You've made that choice, you're in the park, and now you are faced with the choice of which queues to get in. If there were one tip that I could give you to face all of that, it would be this. Don't just look at the posted wait time, put eyes on the actual queue. Look to see if the guests are moving or if they're not moving. What is the texture of the queue? How closely put together are they? Answering these questions will tell you a heck of a lot more than what the posted wait time is. That's just the start of a story. Let's get into the park, let's get into some queues, let's get into the lab and show you what I'm talking about. And it looks like we've picked a pretty good day for it this morning, you guys. We're here on a Wednesday. Well, actually, it's late morning, almost noon, and we're here during the holiday season, which is kind of like the perfect mixture of crowds to do a lab work like this, because what I'm going to show you is especially valuable, especially useful on busy days when the decisions that you are going to make are much more precious. The wrong decision could cost you plenty of time. I should mention before we kick off into our first attraction that this is mostly going to be for Lightning Lane attraction. I mean, it does work for every attraction, but it's especially useful for Lightning Lane. Non-Lightning Lane attractions like Jungle Cruise or Pirates of the Caribbean, they follow kind of a different set of rules. But this is especially useful for Lightning Lane, so that's where we're going to be starting. We're going to be spending most of our time today, I think. Although do stay tuned. At the end of the video, I am going to give you guys another useful tip when it comes to non-Lightning Lane attractions versus Lightning Lane. And we're going to start right here at Space Mountain, probably the most popular attraction here at Disneyland on a regular basis. Consistently difficult attraction to gauge and to try to figure out if it's a go, no go. That's been my experience, that most people just get into the queue. I'm always surprised by how often I see guests getting into a queue that just looks absolutely diabolical. Looks like we're at a posted 50-minute wait time right now. That's just the beginning of the story, as we mentioned at the outset. You don't want to make that your only decision-making piece of intel, right? You have to go look at the queue. Unfortunately, probably this is why people just get in the queue, because if you want to look at the queue, if you have to go to put eyes on the queue and make some analysis, you've got to walk all the way up these ramps and everything. But I have an answer for that as well. But that's probably why people just get in it, because they're like, oh my gosh, we're already all the way here. But it does pay. It absolutely does pay to put eyes on this queue. Now, if you've seen our show before, you'll know that I usually predict the door to be 60 minutes. So that 50-minute wait time on its surface looks pretty accurate. We're skipping this last three switchbacks here, but what I want to look at is, again, the quality and the texture of this queue. Are there lots of movement happening? Is it like a river or is it like a lake? Are there heads moving across all these different switchbacks? How close together, how compact are the queues? Now, at first observation, this is kind of loose right here. There's a little bit of movement, and the bodies have not come together. They have not compressed. A little less so in the rear section, as before you get out the door. That looks very sticky decked that way, but this is pretty common for Space Mountain. That is not unusual. But that does look like they're kind of posted a little bit. I don't see a lot of movement here. What this does suggest, though, we're not trying to answer whether or not this is a 50-minute queue. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's not. I'm going to say it's less than that. What we are trying to answer is what kind of experience are we going to have? What is our expectation? Is it less or more likely to come under that 50 minutes or to come over that 50 minutes? I don't think there's enough movement in this queue, and it looks like there's not terrible amounts of compression up there. I do think we're definitely going to come under. Probably not by a lot. Take another peek. Yeah, just that one group right there is moving, and so it's just a little bit at a time. This is heavily influenced by Lightning Lane and how much movement you get there. Actually, that's kind of getting breezy now at this point. Let's get a clock going. There you go. That's what I'm talking about there. That's 2 or 3 switchbacks moving at this point. So they're letting through a fairly decent flow of guests at the mix point, where guests mix with the Lightning Lane. So in short, what I'm saying at this point, seeing what we've seen so far, adding together the posted wait time, where we start at the back of the queue, and then how the queue is moving, how swift is the queue moving, how dense is the queue packed, that we're definitely coming in under 50 minutes. This is a go situation. And you'll notice right here in this queue that I'm in, there's gaps in the back of the queue. They're not moving like Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously. We are stopping, for those Lightning Lane pauses. But it's not so bad and not so often. The stops aren't as long, not so long, that you don't feel the need to sort of, kind of inch forward a little bit. And that's where that compression comes from. That compression comes from guests standing in the same spot forever, making great time so far. 2 minutes and 45 seconds to get to the rear part of the queue. And I see a lot of movement still. We made a very good decision here. Look at all that. Now again, this is hard to see from outside the queue. You can't typically see that from out there. That's why we come in, we go as far as we do. Now just outside that door though, just outside the door where we came in and where we put eyes on the queue to see this, man, it is moving, we're cooking. There's a stairs. So if you want to come up here and you don't like what you see, just go down the stairs. It's perfectly legitimate. They're there for that purpose, so people can exit if they don't want to get into the queue. Those stairs are for guests to exit. Look at that, look at all that space. This might be the fastest moving Space Mountain queue I've ever seen. Wow. Look at that. Out the door we go in 17 minutes, and I'm thinking 5, 6 or 7 more here. 23 plus another 20 in the tunnels, another 5. We're going to be at our vehicle in about 40 minutes is my guess. Things have been slowing down considerably. We're at 27 minutes to get into the threshold, into the interior queue. My suspicion is that this was due to Lightning Lane. However, things may have improved because we are at where Lightning Lane enters and there's no traffic coming in. I don't see anything down the hall. So we may be in for a ramp up. We may quicken up here a little bit. All right, through the mix point in 35 minutes. Things definitely did slow down a little bit, but we're still well ahead of pace. This is still worked out for us in our favor in terms of being a go situation. We're going to look at another 5 minutes to get to our vehicle, probably at 40 minutes. Right on time.
SF-77, this is Mission Control.
All right, fair start so far. We picked up a win, posted 50, got into the vehicle by 40. The queue was really nice at the very beginning. We did get stuck a little bit in the middle of the queue, but it didn't picked up at the end, so we got saved there. I want to try to find another attraction where we can actually look at the queue for a minute. Hey, how are you? So we're going to head to Matterhorn next. Now, one thing I will say though, before we get into the next attraction, is that I want to reiterate that what we're not trying to use this to say it's going to be more or less than the posted wait time. What we're trying to give you is confidence. We're trying to teach you when to be confident and when to have fear, right? So what you want to feel like when you get to the park, you want to know that you're in control, that you've got kind of a handle on things, and the way you do that is by looking at the queues. So when we get to these queues and we say, is it going to be 40 minutes or not? Well, that's not really the goal. The goal is to say, I feel pretty good that we've got a good shot at this. I feel pretty good that this is a good looking queue and that it might be 40 minutes or less. Or the opposite, where we can look at a queue and say, I don't have a good feeling about this, let's go find another one. And arrived at the Matterhorn we have, where we're seeing a posted 40-minute wait time at the moment. Again, what we're looking for here is movement. If it's like a river or a lake, and if the folks are posted, sitting up against the rails, standing, leaning, etc. Well, not standing, everybody's standing, but leaning. And so, first of all, 40 minutes, that's kind of a short wait time for Matterhorn. As we walk past, we will note, actually, let me go ahead and just show you now. They're not in the usual depth of the queue. They're not using the extended queue. So that's actually a high wait time considering how much queue is being used here. I'll say that. Now, we're not here to do queue analysis in that sense, but it's going to help frame us, our decision-making process. This is 20 minutes right here, this queue. So I don't expect that this is 40. You know what I'm saying? Are we seeing any movement? Not presently. I don't see, oh, there we go. There's the movement there. Because it sort of follows, the track. Like they'll let somebody in through lightning lane, right? So then that queue moves, or that far switchback moves, and then this one goes back up, and then same, and then this one goes up that way. It kind of follows each other. But what you want to see is more than one section moving. If you see more than one switchback moving at a time, that means that they're sending a lot of guests. Right there, see that? They're going in while these guys are going up. That's good. So that's pretty decent for a lightning lane attraction to see that kind of movement. I don't see a lot of guests, kind of scrunched together. There's no compression, not a lot of compression anyway. Not a lot of standing, not a lot of leaning. This is a decent queue. I would get in this queue. I don't think this is good enough for us to test. I'm not seeing like a huge, win here, but I would definitely say you're going to get this done in under 40 minutes. That's a no-brainer. That's a go situation right there. Maybe we'll come back to that one later. What I want to find is something gnarly, though. I want to find something really, really gnarly. Fortunately, we can't look at Indiana Jones because it's closed today, but we'll go check out maybe Haunted Mansion or Big Thunder. Hi, how are you guys? Yeah, Haunted Mansion. He told them Haunted Mansion or Big Thunder. Hi, guys. Made it to Big Thunder, where it's a posted 50-minute wait time. That's going to be a good case study, I think, to find out how well this works. Looks like it is running about into the back section. Not full as it usually could be, but let's look at the guests that are in the queue, not the open spaces, but the guests that are in the queue. We got some movement back there. He's moving. That queue's moving in this direction. These guests are a little posted, but that is typical of lightning lane attractions where you have gaps in the movement. So where's our next break? Where's our next group of movement? Right there in the corner. As they make the U-turn here, these guests are moving now. So that's good. We've seen two sections moving. That's a good look. And then looking down the way. By the way, don't look at the left queue. That's lightning lane. So that's actually not bad so far from what we've seen. It's difficult though for this queue. We don't get to see a lot of the standby queue because a lot of it is covered. There's another view we can get over there from near Rancho. By the way, I should add that when I say put eyes on the queue, I do mean also lightning lane. This is something you want to be looking at. How deep is a lightning lane queue? At Big Thunder, you want anything inside that sign. This is okay. This is actually a decent group here because there's this, plus there's more where they mix on the other side. The mix point is over there near the end of the queue, so we can't see that part. We don't know how many are there. But when you see this queue running out the back side, that's not a good sign. That's pretty long. But hi guys. On the flip side, though, they can process this quickly, so it's not like this is a permanent situation. But do just see if it's anything drastic, anything that looks out of the ordinary. That backside view over here, just in front of Rancho del Zocalo, they got a bunch of switchbacks here. They're ready for more guests, but they're not using it all. I don't see a lot of leaners, a lot of standers. There's movement again right there. That's movement. That's good. I get kids. The kids sit all the time in queues. I try not to use that as an example. It's when you see the adults sitting and leaning is bad news. Yeah, there's some more movement. They're moving again. So that means there's a constant flow of guests going that direction. Long story short, I like the looks of that queue. I like the looks of that queue, and I feel confident that it's not going to be more than 50 minutes. So if I'm prepared to wait 50 minutes, I'm going to be rewarded probably with a wait, I'm going to guess somewhere in 35 minutes. Let's get this clock started, get in this queue. Oh, it's gotten longer. It's got longer. That's not a good look right off the bat. We're going to go for it. I still feel pretty good about this, but the back of the queue is up that direction a little bit more. And since we've been doing our recon here, the back of the queue has gotten longer, and they're doing some rope maintenance. So, but I still see a lot of movement. That's still pretty good. All that, see that right there? That's good. If you are looking for signs while you're in the queue, you've already made your decision. You just want to feel a little bit better about your decision. Watch to see As you get further into the queue, you can spend some time in there, watch to see if the back of the queue gets further on. Right now we're at about a switchback and a half. The back of the queue is at about a switchback and a half back here. And as it turns out, since we've been in the queue, it's gotten shorter. In the few minutes, we've only been in the queue for, what is that now, just a couple minutes. But the back of the queue when we got in was, oh, he turned it off. He closed it. The rope maintenance he was doing was to shorten the queue. How did guests even get in here? They're going in that direction, or is he sending it down there? This is so strange. Oh, here they come. Yeah, they're gonna be right. The back of the queue was right here when we got into this queue. So they've actually cleared this whole section right here since we've been in it in those 2 minutes. The queue is getting shorter. Through the threshold in 7.5 minutes so far. That's not too bad. Still looking pretty good. Moving up here, movement there as well. That's a good sign. Not a lot of light in the lane either. I know you can't see this from the ground, but I'm just reinforcing that what we saw outside is consistent with what we're finding inside the queue as well. Looks like we're at 18 minutes at this point, which is funny because we're at the 18-minute mark at Space Mountain. We were just leaving the doors, which I felt like, no, that was 25 minutes. We were still inside the exterior queue, and I felt like we had forever to go to get to the vehicles, and we wound up getting that done in about 20 more minutes it was. Yeah, so this looks like considerably less than that 20 minutes, so I'm still feeling really confident about getting this in there. I'm saying 30, 35 minutes, or maybe less than that even. They've cleared most of the lightning lane here, so we've got just this stretch to get to the mix point. You're looking at, I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4 minutes max to get to the mix point, and then another 5 minutes, maybe 7 on the outside, but 5 feels pretty good. So you're looking at about 10 minutes. That gets us to, wait, if we add 10, well, yeah, that's still 30 minutes to the mix, and 21 minutes total. Now we're under, because that only took about 2 minutes. I thought it might take 4. It took 2. So you're looking at, from here, 5 or 6 minutes tops into the vehicle, 26 minutes. There you go, 25 minutes, right on time. That was kind of easy. 25 minutes on a posted 50. You can kind of tell it was going to be an easy peasy ride. So I felt our confidence was rewarded. Half the posted wait time. Still, we got to try to find something a little bit more gnarly on the next one. By gnarly, I think I mean something like Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which we've arrived at now. It's 40 minutes posted, and we're going to sort of evaluate this queue right now. We're noticing that the garden is empty. That's a good sign. By the way, as I mentioned, when you're looking at the queue, the actual queue, one of the factors you're looking for is, are they using all of the sort of parts of the queue, all the extended parts, like when we were at Matterhorn. The fact that they weren't using those 2 queues in the back, extended 1 and extended 2, tells me that's going to be a pretty short ride, a pretty short queue. Tiana's has many parts, and you want to try to reduce as many of those as possible from the overall collective. You know, like, hopefully, you're hoping that they're not in the garden. You're hoping that they're not in extended 1 and extended 2 back here in the back side of the attraction. There are often queues set up here. I'm looking at these are stanchions for roped off sections of queue. This would be extended 1 that I'm in. Extended 2 would go around that tree. So that's good. That's 3 sections that are not being used. Section 1 and section 2 back extended back there. The garden, by the way, also note, we're looking at Lightning Lane. You want to put eyes on Lightning Lane when you come by to check, especially popular attractions like Tiana's. There's nobody. There's nobody in Lightning Lane right now, at least at the point where they scan you through. So that's a really good sign. So now what we got to do is check again, the complexion of what's the texture? Are they compressed, or are they tight, or are they loose, or is it moving? We got some movement right there heading towards the point where you cross through the threshold. That's good. What we were hoping to see at least 2 more sections. There goes the Disneyland Railroad. We are seeing movement. In one section there, we're going to hope to find one more. I will note, though, in the few minutes that in the few minutes that we were evaluating that back section, they started to fill up the garden a little bit. So that means that they're not processing guests as quickly as they were previously. Something is holding guests up. And we've got just that one section of movement there. Kind of people leaning a little bit. There's movement there a little bit. There's movement back here, although they just opened that up. Well, often it is the case when they just open up a space, it takes a while for it to compress. All in all, this is kind of a toss-up. I do feel like this is a 40-minute queue. I don't like the fact that the queue grew by this much in the couple of minutes that we were looking at it. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think it's going to be difficult for us to beat 40 minutes here, which means we need to get in this queue and find out. Let's go. Oh, and they also bumped it to 45 minutes on the posted wait time. The clock has started, heading into the garden. It's not 100%, by the way. The garden, they're only using a portion of the garden. So it's not going to be the usual. I've measured this where it's taken 15, 20 minutes just to get through here, but that was on a very busy day, very sticky. The queue went nowhere, and we wound up getting into a 60-minute queue. I don't think we finished that right. By the time we got to the stairs in the back there, I want to say it was an hour, maybe 80, 70 minutes, and the ride broke down. It was just a bad day. I haven't seen any days like that, by the way, for a little while for Tiana's. Tiana's has been pretty steady, pretty reliable for the past few months. Already my lack of confidence, my fear, my anxiety that I felt out at the entrance to the queue is coming to fruition. We've only been in the queue for about 3 minutes, but I haven't moved. I haven't moved, and this happens. This is one of the, and what's going to happen invariably is that's when the queue starts to compress. By the way, let me clarify. The goal of this video is to teach you how to have confidence, to teach you, when to say no, right? When to say yes and when to say no. I got in this queue, but the point I'm making is that I wouldn't have. This is a no-go, and I'm trying to evidence the fact why this is a no-go. That's why we're in this queue. But I would normally have said, I would have not, if I was a guest and I looked at this queue, the 40-minute wait time, lack of movement, the fact that it's growing, that's not a good sign. And I bet you by the time we get to the threshold back there, they're going to have grown this queue into extended 1 and extended 2. As a matter of fact, we still haven't moved, by the way. Have you noticed? So while I got in this queue, my direction would have been for you to not get in this queue. This is a no-go. Finally, some movement. Guess how long that took for us to move this far? Not good. Not good at all. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe exactly what I mean, but the queue around me has compressed. That movement right there, we have compressed now to, there's much less space in where I'm at, literally, than there was before. And and again, these are things you can see from the pathway. So this is a very visible queue, and you can put eye on this. But things are starting to, tighten up in the rest of the queue. Oh, look, we're moving again. Okay, that's good. It's not a lot, though. I'm guessing they've got a rush of lightning lane, I'm guessing. It's moving about maybe 10 or 15 guests at a time. And then we stop for a little while. You might even be able to use this while you're in the queue. Use this analysis. If you're standing here and you're not moving for 5 minutes, you're seeing the queue compress. If you're seeing it not moving, jump out. I've done that. I have definitely bounced. I've aborted the mission, as it were, many, many times after getting in queues, just because I didn't like the way that it was going. So things have picked up a little bit. We're at 17 minutes right now to the threshold here. Still no action in Lightning Lane. which is probably why it's moving as well as it is. And I don't see yet, might have been just a blip that we experienced back in the garden, because I don't see them yet adding extended ones. So we can still be, or we can now be possibly a little bit confident that we might beat that 40 minutes. 29, almost 30 minutes in, can report that while we're probably going to get in under 40, it'll be close. The experience that I've had has not been very pleasant. A lot of stopping, a lot of standing, a lot of just like not doing anything. We're kind of creeping forward. But miraculously, I do still feel like we're on pace to get into that 40. Now, compare that to our situations with the first two, where space was posted 50, and it was easy at the first, but got stuck in the middle. We still came in under by 10 minutes, 40 minutes to the vehicle, and then Big Thunder. I mean, that was we saw that when we got to that queue, breezy. Everything looked good. All the signs pointed towards that being a good opportunity. 50 minutes posted, 25 to the vehicle. We're not going to get anything like either of those two. Posted 40, and there goes the train. Posted 40, and we're now at 31 minutes. Like I said, I mean, I can see how we might still get there, because the light lane has still not been a big problem here. This has just been pure standby. But I can see us getting to the vehicle about 35, 37 minutes. Here comes our boat, and we are at 41 minutes. We didn't quite make that 41-minute barrier.
There are musicians out here, and man, are these cats are burning.
Oh, God darn it. Dang it. Oh, hey. Now, that might be the most wet I've ever gotten. Tiana's Bayou adventure. And I'm sitting in my usual back seat, too. I just realized we shot the first part of that video, of that ride, in slow-mo, so you're only going to get the middle half of the ride. But okay, so 40 minutes. Now, you might be saying, well, okay, Dave, what's the problem? Why are you calling that a no-go? 40 minutes, you got there in time. Again, the message, the idea of this is to, when I get to that queue and I see what I see, I'm trying to decide if I have confidence or if I'm afraid, right? So it's not necessarily about beating the posted wait time, again, as we mentioned at Space Mountain. It's about seeing something and saying, that looks good for me or that looks bad for me. I have cause for concern, and maybe I look for a better opportunity, or that looks healthy and that looks like it's moving good and I want to get in that queue. And in either case, you could, how do I put this? You could beat the time. You could also miss the time if you get into a queue that looks good, if things change after, further on. But the idea is looking at a queue, seeing a queue, and saying, that's a good situation. And so when I got to the top of the hill, in spite of the fact that those three sections were open, extended 1 and 2, and the garden were open when we first started, the garden started to fill up, and things were starting to slow down in the queue. There was starting to be more congestion, etc. I didn't like how that was looking. That was a no-go. Now that just means I'm going to come back and find another opportunity, perhaps, and it means that I still have a chance at getting 40. Mind you, we beat Space Mountain by 10, and we beat Big Thunder by 25 when we felt good about it. We did not beat the 40 minutes posted. It was 41. Which brings us to our last stop of the night, Haunted Mansion, and a posted 50 minutes, and this already looks quite scary. There's your 50 minutes. Things you're looking out for. Are they going down the side alley here? Are they in Leota's Garden? If they're in here, if they're using that, they're in Leota's Garden. And then are they using the greenhouse back here? So this is not looking good. It's not looking good for a quick ride, no matter what. The question would be whether or not, it's going to be an enjoyable experience? Do you have fear? Are you confident? They're moving okay in there. That was a pretty good chunk of movement there. There's movement here also, and then we'll take a quick peek inside. You can walk in here if you want and just sort of take a look at things. We're looking for movement. Okay, that's some pretty good action going on there in Lightning Lane, by the way. Movement, that's moving. Trying to look back here. You can't see much in the back area back there. Hi guys. But I'm seeing a lot of a decent flow here. That's actually, I was kind of nervous about this, but this is making me possibly optimistic. Everywhere I look, I saw the queue moving. I didn't see very many situations where people are just standing around. The greenhouse over here on the side, we're just going to be through here in a minute. Leota's garden looked good. Matter of fact, we're going to have an opportunity to peek in there. But in the main queue, the main proper queue up there, I saw some pretty decent movement. We could be breaking 50 here. I feel good about this. If you're trying to say, do we think we'll beat 50? Probably. But at least what I'm not getting is a situation where I feel like I'm going to be stuck in this queue. I feel like, even in spite of the fact this is Lightning queue, I don't feel like we're going to be stuck in here and not going anywhere. Looks busy in there. Here we go. So we did that little stretch right there along the side over here in about a minute and a half. Quickly into the greenhouse, 9 minutes total so far. We've been moving briskly, about the same pace that we've observed outside the queue. There you go, more movement there in Leota's garden, and there's some movement right there, looking good. This is going pretty well. I was having a really good experience right up until I found the back of this Lightning Lane. Lightning Lane is very much impacted, and we are at this point now, I can say, possibly screwed. We are possibly screwed. I don't know how we can defeat this Lightning Lane queue right now. We're on a really good pace. It's 15 minutes. We've been in this queue just for 15 minutes, and we're at the pet cemetery. And we now know why we saw this impacted Lightning Lane queue, because you see that? That is a closed gate. A closed gate means there's a breakdown inside. So luckily that was just a brief stop. So I did pause the clock. Luckily when I stood here in the queue, I paused the clock, so we'll get that going again. And hopefully we can maintain this same bitchin' pace that we were on before. We're at 17. Actually, I feel like it took me a minute to stop the clock. I feel like I lost a minute there somewhere, so we could actually be at 60. Actually, that's probably never gonna happen. We're screwed. We still are screwed, because while we're sitting here for the past 5 or 10 minutes waiting for the attraction to open, Lightning Lane has backed up even worse. Lightning Lane is now out the gate. So we're gonna have to wait for all those guests, every single one of those guests and more are gonna go through before we even get halfway through that spot, I'm sure. Into the rear queue in 21 minutes. So when we were back there, I was thinking we'd be doing pretty good if we got here in 15. We were paused there for about 5, maybe 10 minutes. So, it's not too bad. I guess 21. I'm just concerned about all of this Lightning Lane. We were doing so well. We were doing so well. I would be shocked if we were to get into the house by 40 minutes. I would be shocked. 29 minutes. There's still a chance that we get inside 50. It's moving okay, but I can still see Lightning Lane from down there. I can still see that they're still very much suffering. There's a bunch of people using Lightning Lane. You don't like to see Lightning Lane guests sitting either, for that matter. Oh, man, we had it. We were so close. We were so close. We had it. We had the call. The call was good. I feel like if they hadn't broke down, we would have been at the door already. At 30 minutes, we would have been at the door for sure. But now we're having to park here and wait for Lightning Lane a little bit. Are we gonna? Oh yes, we did it! All right, we did it. That's we did it. 36 minutes to the mix point. So we'll be at the door in 40. No, maybe less. Depends on when the next rotation is. It's about a 2-minute thing. So yeah, we'll be at the door in 38 minutes.
Place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams. For the story that you were about to be told began with the holiday woods.
So I hope that was a fairly representative set of what I'm trying to talk about. It was interesting, 4 rides, 3 of them were at 50. We beat all 3 of those, even that one that we were stuck there at Haunted Mansion. And then the 4th one, which is 40 minutes, that's the one that's the one that was like a little dicey. So you can never tell. I guess that's a good way of proving that you can never tell. The posted wait time doesn't tell the whole story. It never does. And the way you suss out what is true and what isn't is by looking at the actual queue. Now it's easier the more times you do it. You ride a ride, you could say, okay, the queue should be here and it shouldn't. That's pretty tough. That's tough to do if you're new or if you don't watch a lot of Fresh Baked, because that's all I do all day. Every single day I'm like, that's where the queue should be and that's where the queue shouldn't be, kind of thing. But what you can, hi guys, hey, how are you? What you can do though is at least look at the texture of the queue and try to see if you can guess if it's or see if it's a flowing queue or if it's stuck. We didn't have any bad queues. Tiana was the worst, but there's definitely been worse situations that I can show you. But that's what you're looking for, is situations like Tiana to avoid. Still worked out, but that's a situation to avoid. Maybe come back later, try it again, maybe go do something else. Do something that's standby only, non-lightning lane. Brings us to that bonus tip that I mentioned at the beginning of this show. Non-lightning lane attractions like Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise, the dark rides, Astro Orbiter or something like that. All of those attractions play by a different set of rules. There is a case where you can watch the queue move and sort of see if it's in places that it should or shouldn't be. But one thing that I can tell you is that there's no such thing as a queue, a standby only queue like Pirates. There's no such thing as a situation where it is slower than it should be. These queues move at the same pace always, because there's no interruption, there's no lightning lane to get in the way. So you actually don't have to do any of what I just said for non-lightning lane attractions, which is beautiful because it makes it so much simpler to make decisions on. All you gotta do is look at it and it's like, I want to wait that long. The posted wait times are usually always high or higher than the actual. That's another thing. That's another little tip I'll give you for standby versus lightning lane. The posted wait times, this one's 35 minutes, no chance that Pirates queue is 35 minutes. A 35-minute queue for Pirates would be just forever down that way. But even if it is, you're still gonna beat it. This queue moves like grease lightning. Look at all that movement. Look at how quickly everything is moving, no interruption whatsoever. This is why I recommend these attractions on busy days. On the busiest days, if you don't want to fight that battle that we have been fighting for the most of this show, on a busy day, if you don't want to have to worry about if you should get in a queue, if it's very intimidating, it creates anxiety for you, stress, there is no stress on non-lightning lane attractions. They are what they are. Pirates, Jungle Cruise, the dark rides, Astro Orbiter. Really the only one that can be stressful is Nemo. But everything else, anything that is standby only, even if it looks bad, it's not. I promise you, they're a breeze. That's why I love those. Mark Twain, the Columbia, the monorail. Those are absolute fantastic attractions to be hitting on a super busy day. Again, you don't run rotation. All you gotta do is wait for the next boat. That's it. Just gotta wait for the next boat, the next monorail. They're great. I absolutely love them. And then again, dark rides in Fantasyland, even if they look bad, because they're very compressed. That's a situation where if you see a compressed queue, don't worry about it. It's just because they're tiny. The queues are very small, so it looks worse than it really is.
Yep.
And there you go. That is our one tip that I would give you, just to learn and figure out, if you can, to help make your days better, easier, more confident than you have in the past. For those of you who are watching, this is your first show, if you caught this and it's like, oh, that's an interesting video, I want to watch that. You're not familiar with Fresh Baked? Hi guys! We do this stuff all the time. We do all kinds of park science. We do this. We do State of Disney reports every week, or every other week. State of DCA. We do construction. We do all kinds of strategy videos. Rope drop, guys. Learn how to do rope drop. I've got more videos on that coming up as well. Subscribe to our channel. Get all the updates. Learn how to do Disneyland like a pro. That's Fresh Bake. That's what we can help you with. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Bake.